Well, hello and welcome to episode 202 of Drink the Movies. I'm Brian here, as always, with Michaela. And Michaela, we are into Oscar season now. We did our little live stream last week where we looked at all of the nominees, and there were some that came as a surprise, and there were some that came as no surprise. And that is today's film we're going to be talking about. This is something that you and I saw the preview of. We're like, well, that's just going to like rip our hearts out. That sounds like a great time to go see, but it does look awfully beautiful, and sure enough, it does. Today, we're talking about The Wild Robot. So
We do.
before I turn this over to you, Michaela, let me just go ahead and lay out how this is going to work for everyone listening at home. We're going to take a break. We're going to make our cocktail. Then we're going to take another break, and then we're going to cry for 40 minutes, and then the episode will be over. But Michaela, are you looking forward to talking about the wild robot?
You have no faith in me.
I'm talking
Or
about me. I'm talking about
oh, you
me.
are right. That's true. I'm super excited to talk about Wild Robot. I feel like this year there were a lot of worthy animated films to talk about, but this one, I hope it wins all the things. It's definitely my favorite animated film of this year, and there were some really good ones out. So I can't. I'm excited to talk about it. I'm going to do my very best. I've got water here. We've got our cocktail here. I'm gonna do my very best to not cry like a little baby mommy, robot mom, talking about this film because it is all the things, and it's up for some really cool stuff. We'll talk about that. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
excited. Are you
yeah.
excited?
I'm excited for sure. So let's do this, Michaela. Let's go ahead and get to step one there of my game plan is to take our quick break and come back to mix up this week's cocktail. It's a good one. So hang tight and we'll be right back.
So Brian, this movie, The Wild Robot, is not just about a robot. It's about like a goose
Yeah,
that grows up with a
little
robot as kind
Gosling.
of a mom, little baby gosling. Oh, so
Yeah.
cute. Um, and so what better way to shepherd that gosling into adulthood by than by creating a Grey Goose based drink that
Hmm.
also we can only have during winter because there's a lot of prep for winter time in this film. So I think this really
That's true.
went well. This is a hot drink, just so everybody knows. This is meant to be served warm. It
Hmm.
it fits really well because this week it has been abysmally cold in the Carolinas, so it's gone down pretty well. I wish we had this earlier so I could have enjoyed it for most of the winter. But yeah, how are we feeling about winter scarves from our Grey Goose
Yeah,
dot com?
from GreyGoose.com. Yeah, it was the featured cocktail, and we are getting ready to do the Wild Robot, and I was like, oh, obviously we should do something with Grey Goose in it, right? Because we're talking about a little goose there, Brightbill, there for sure. So we'll use some Grey Goose. That'll tick something off, and then their featured cocktail was this Winter Scarves. I'm like, that's perfect because the whole movie is basically about getting Brightbill ready to fly south, right? To migrate, do the winter migration, and then leave all the other animals behind to freeze to death, right? Luckily, Roz is there to light a fire and build a shelter for everyone so they can ride out the winter. And maybe if Roz had the cocktail recipe for the winter scarves, that would have went a long way too. But this comes together really easy. You do need a couple of things, Michaela, but you can play loosey goosey there. See what I did there with these ingredients as you want. So grab yourself like a coffee mug. That's going to be your best bet, and throw in there 1.5 ounces of Grey Goose vodka or any vodka you want. Don't tell Grey Goose I said that. 1 ounce of Benedictine, which is a delicious, almost like medicinally kind of a thing, which is always surprising to me. Every time we use it in a cocktail, I'm like, man, Benedictine is really tasty. We should use it more. And then we'll go back to forgetting about it for a while. But 1 ounce of that. If you don't have Benedictine, you might not. Go ahead and sub in just like an ounce of honey. That's going to be good too. It's going to be perfect for the winter time. 1 ounce of that. 3 ounces of boiling water and two lemon wheels, cinnamon stick, and a slice of ginger. So go ahead and just put all that in your mug, let it steep for about I don't know 3 minutes or so, and then you're going to be good to go to sip and enjoy. You can garnish that a little bit with a clove if you want, or a little wedge of lemon, a little extra lemony there. But this is going to be the cure for what ails you come this winter time. So, Michaela, we had this. What did you think about it?
I really liked it. I was a little concerned about that much Benedictine because it is very medicinal forward. Like at first, I mean, I took a sip and was like, "Whoa, man, that's a very cough syrupy almost drink," which does not sound good. But I will say that my second and third sips got better and better. And then I made myself a whole other cup of it because I really, really liked it. I, I find, look, if you're going to do a vodka, number one, don't do a flavored vodka. If you're not going to use Grey Goose's like original,
Hmm.
then that's fine.
You could you could maybe use a really high end like orange or lemon. Like if you wanted to use like
Yeah,
Grey Goose's like citron or
yeah,
La
but
Orange, you could use that maybe, but
yeah,
I
but
wouldn't use anything sweeter than that.
no, absolutely not. That is correct. So I actually had a little baby bottle of it like a little baby Grey Goose bottle. It's so cute and pretty. Um, and so that's what I used for my 1.5 ounces of vodka for my first one anyway. And I think that this is really good. The slice of ginger, like it adds kind of a spicy undertone to it. The lemon wheels kind of break down because of the boiling water. You definitely don't want to drink it while it's still boiling. Don't do that because you'll burn your lips off. But I really liked this drink. I thought that this was a lot better than I thought it was going to be because normally, again, Benedictine can be kind of off-putting, and we used a lot of it in my estimation. But
Mhm.
I imagine if you were afraid of that or you didn't have any, the sub for honey would be very nice. It would just add like a measure of sweetness and kind of it would coat your tongue a little bit differently than the Benedictine.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. This is a lot more complex than I thought it was going to be, kind of initially
Yeah.
off the bat. It was really good. If you don't have fresh ginger to get that slice of ginger, you could probably use a piece of like candied ginger if you have any of that in your spice rack there. You could swap that out. Probably would work okay too. So that is the Winter Scarves. It's a good one, and it was perfect for watching this movie. I needed something comforting when I was going back and
Oh
rewatching this
no.
one, Michaela. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and take a break. We'll grab tissues and we'll grab Brightbill, hold them close, and we'll be right back to chat about this week's film, The Wild Robot.
Goslings imprint on the first thing they see.
Which would be you. Here is another now.
I do not have the programming.
No one does. He needs to swim and fly.
Swimming's easy. I can teach him the way my mom taught me. Swim!
Spoiler warning for the wild robot. If you've not seen this film, we're going to talk about all the things, and it's going to be really hard. I'm just kidding. It's not really going to be that hard. This film is amazing. But we are
It'll
going
be
to talk
kind of
about all
hard.
the things, and it's just come out. So if you've not seen it, don't let us spoil it. Press pause on this. Go watch the film.
Hmm.
Come back. Make yourself a winter scarf or two or three. You know, go do that because we don't want to be the ones to spoil it, and it's not been out for too long, and it's totally worth your time. But you've been warned. We're talking about it starting now.
Yeah, absolutely. If you've not seen it, it is available to stream as of recording on Peacock, so you can go check that out there. It is also doing a little bit of a run back at the movie theaters
Yep.
here, just in time for Oscars, because this was nominated for some. And we'll talk about that here in a second. So this was just released this past fall in September, I believe, of 2024. It was directed by Chris Sanders, and it stars the voice talent of a lot of people, and we'll talk about that. But Roz, our super helper robot, is voiced by Lupita Nyong'o, and Kit Connor voices Brightbill, Roz's adopted Gosling. So, Michaela, this story, it was based off of a book series by the same name by Peter Brown. So this is I guess, the adaptation of the first. There's a trilogy of these books. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if you've ever read any of those books, so I'm not sure how faithfully it adapts there. It talks a little bit about, Chris Sanders does, about having to adapt some of the things to give a little bit more agency to Roz, the robot, to, I guess, in the books, just kind of keeps finding herself in situations where she's unable to help. So I had to give her a little bit more agency to kind of tell the story. So that's kind of interesting there. And tell an interesting story it does, because this was nominated for 3 Academy Awards. It was nominated for Best Sound, Best Original Score for Chris Bowers, and Best Animated Picture of them all three. So we'll see how that does come Oscar night here in a couple of weeks. But pretty well warranted, those three, I would believe.
Yeah. Oh, totally. And we could talk about it. I also think that it should have been nominated for best song because there's a lot of songs from the soundtrack that are great.
Hmm.
My
Hmm.
favorite is I think it's called Even When I'm Not. Now I have to look it up because I'm not going to sing it, but it's fabulous and it happens
Even
during
even when I'm not, it plays over the end
played by
credits there.
yeah, played
Yep.
by Maren Morris and it's so sweet
Hmm.
and it's
Hmm.
so good. Um Gosh, look at me. It's already started. We've been We've
It's
been
not.
in this for
I
45
mean,
seconds.
it's not as good as Kiss the Sky, but we're going to talk about the music here. Yeah, for sure. And it definitely it probably was snubbed on the original song, but the original score for sure, done by Chris Bowers. And or we're going to talk about kind of all the music and all the different parts of this movie as it comes together. So based off the books, Michaela, did you ever read the books? You have a kiddo
I
at home. Then
I didn't. Yeah, we are starting to listen to it now because my son immediately was like, "Mom, I didn't know this was a book. Oh my gosh." And so now we're heavily into an audiobook that tells us a story right before bedtime. So that's really cool. It is it is interesting to me that they, and you can already see it kind of at the beginning of reading the book, that she has Roz, the robot, has a little bit more agency, probably just to get to the point in time where she can actually be more helpful and gets into the crux of the story. I think that was just a kind of a mechanism of telling the story in not 3 hours, which I'm really grateful for. So
yeah, for sure. Let's talk about the movie here a little bit. Let's kind of get through the story here and see what we think about this. So we are seeing fly from the sky there, displaced because of a storm. We've got our Rosm, the helpful robot. This is Rosm Unit 7134 crash lands onto this. I think it's Canadian island there. Roz is going to be how she comes to be known to the inhabitants of this island, but crashes, scares some otters there, washes up on shore. And I really like you get the kind of introduction to Roz and immediately see how she is taking in this world, right? Basically, her programming says that she is there to help, right? Otters, do you need any help with anything? Crab, do you need help with anything? And she is just there to help. But unfortunately, she can't really understand everyone. So you get kind of this beautiful imagery of basically Roz shutting herself down so she can just learn and takes in all the language and things, goes to sleep, wakes up all the characters there, all of the animals on the island are now speaking and we can understand them, which is helpful for the storytelling. A lot of bad stuff happens to Roz though. Gets like struck by lightning, gets like chased away by all the animals. She gets like parts of her stolen by these wily raccoons, like
yeah.
10,000 raccoons. That's pretty wild. And eventually ends up being chased down by a bear, where she's going to have her fateful meeting with a little gosling as she accidentally, crushes all those little gosling eggs, save one that's going to come to be under her stead. Get some life lessons there from the possum. Probably one of my favorite characters in the story here. This mother, played by Catherine O'Hara, is going to say, well, it doesn't matter if you're ready for this or not. You don't know how to do it. You're going to be a mother to that little guy anyways. And that's exactly what she does. She takes on her programming there. She has 3 lessons to teach. Little Brightbill, her little gosling, he's going to come to be named, right? Has to teach him how to
Yep.
eat, teach him how to swim, and
Yep.
teach him how to fly because he is a goose after all. He needs to go south for the winter, and that's going to be kind of the crux of the story is getting Brightbill ready to fly south for the winter. But when Brightbill leaves, winter rolls in. The rest of the animals on the island have to adapt and survive, and they do that under Roz's stead, right? Staves off her own death. She's powering down to get everyone inside and safe for the winter. And we see, kind of Brightbill return, and they have, kind of a near miss there as they come back together before Roz ultimately has to leave and go off on her own adventure back home where she belongs. So, Michaela, let's talk about the wild robot here. Kind of from a standpoint of this was always something that looked like it was going to just devastate us from the first time we saw that trailer.
Yep. This is marketing done right. They made a promise to us, and they kept that promise. I loved so much about this film. The story is great. I love how it's not just a mother-son kind of um, synopsis, right? Like it's also about how a community comes together. Because at first Brightbill is not welcome amongst the community because of amongst the other geese because of who his quote unquote mom is, right? They're like
Yeah.
your mom is Roz, she murdered your family, like they're
He's
you
a bit of
don't
a
know
runt.
anything. Yeah, he's littler. And she takes all of that in stride. But she befriends people in, or members of the community, the different animals. And, one of the things that I really love is that it's also this kind of look at how the community can look at an example of someone who is different, someone who has, literally comes from a different world, is programmed differently. Roz doesn't have any animal instincts. And so even when she's talking to the possum about, hey, I'm not actually meant to be a mom, that's not what my I'm not meant to do this. And they're like, well, good luck. I mean, you're doing it, because this is the way that you can help. And when they kind of meet up all together in Roz's shelter that she's built, because she's built this really beautiful shelter. She's great at doing like really hard things. She's probably really strong, and surprisingly, like half of her can be stolen and she can still work. I find that really amazing,
Mhm.
because she builds this really amazing house kind of structure, and all of the animals, when it's really really cold, think her friendly fox, and her like search all over the forest to try and get everybody, kind of a Noah's Ark kind of thing where everybody's in this shelter with a fire and they all have to kind of get along with each other, just like Roz had to get along with them in when it was springtime and beautiful out. So I love that aspect too. I really want to talk about the animation here.
Mhm.
There's so much attention to detail, and the way in which they portray Roz's adaptations. So she loses like a foot, um, and one of the beavers kind of helps her put together a foot made of wood. And the detailing on that is just crazy, like the textures. And they have to do a lot, right? We see the forest, we see, them fly. Then she's trying to help Brightbill fly through the sky. There's like a ship. There's this whole other planet where all of the Rozes are like helpful Rozes, and in like they're in service um
Mhm. Yep.
as farmers and stuff. So there's this whole lot of kind of computer alien stuff, as well as like forestry, and all of that is done really well.
Yeah, there's a lot of really beautiful imagery, and that was kind of the big takeaway from the trailer. Obviously, beyond the fact that it was going to be, emotional, and really like punch you in the heart, for sure. It was going to be absolutely gorgeous, and I mean, it's stunning, the way that this looks, right? So, see, you have a couple of things like right off the bat, just the way that like the ocean looks, where it kind of looks realistic, but it also is highly like stylized looking, but it looks absolutely gorgeous. And then you just get like this like breadth of like colors and scope. Unfortunately, neither of us got to see this in IMAX, I don't believe, which would have been astonishing. I don't know if it's going to be playing it IMAX again, but I would love to get out and see it. But it's absolutely gorgeous. You get, kind of Roz going through the forest. You'll see her, stumble into like this big like pasture full of butterflies and every color that you can imagine, and even a bunch that you've never imagined exist in this, this field full of butterflies. You get the beautiful images when Brightbill eventually is going to take off, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that specific section there. But when Brightbill takes off, and there are, I don't know, like 10,000 geese on screen. Like, how do they even get that many on there and get the computer like to to work to spit out like an image, right? Like, it breaks my computer to type in 10,000 geese on screen, right? So I don't even know
Right.
how they did that. So stuff like that is beautiful. Like how cold the snow looks when they're in it, when it's coming down and they're, digging out all of these characters. The art style is absolutely beautiful. I think probably my favorite like singular like kind of image there's really like two, I guess. This doesn't really, I guess, have to do with the animation, but it's when Brightbill leaves and Roz runs up to the top of the cliff, and she's like kind of like hanging off the tree like over the side of the cliff. That's absolutely gorgeous. And again, we're going to talk about that section with a little bit more detail, because that's kind of the big like highlight, emotional moving piece of the movie, of which there's 100 of. That one's really beautiful, but I really love after the winter storm has kind of broken and Roz is more or less shut down kind of at this point, and like this like forest like moss has like started to like overtake her
Hmm.
body, and the way that that looks on top of like her metallic features is really stunning. It's so like delicate looking, like you could like
Yeah.
reach out and touch it. Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I feel like there's so much there's so many layers to this as well. I mean, you have Brightbill leaving. We have Longneck, who's played by Bill Nye. He is
Mhm.
amazing. Roz is a very ambitious little robot, right? She is, and we say she, I guess, because makes sense that she's kind of a motherly figure, but like she is uh, really committed to these three lessons that she wants Brightbill to learn, right? And the
Mhm.
flying is turns out to be really difficult because he is small, and she doesn't know how to fly, right? So she doesn't have wings. So she goes to Longneck. Longneck is kind of the leader of this geese pack that says, "Hey, we'll look after him, but he's got to be able to achieve." Flight for, I don't know, a certain amount of time. And so she like goes and talks to Thunderbolt, who is what is he? A-
Thunderbolt. He's
he's
a
a,
peregrine falcon. He's
yeah, he's a
voiced by
falcon. Sorry.
he's voiced by Ving Rhames. That's my favorite line in the movie, right? Is because Roz is like, "Oh, I got you a teacher to help you learn how to fly," and of course Brightbill is like this little like runt, right? He's got these little tiny wings. All the other geese make fun
Yeah.
of him, like he can barely fly. So he's like, "You got me a teacher. What kind of nerd is going to teach me?" And then this badass falcon, voiced by Ving Rhames, rolls up, and he's like, he's like, your wings are like the teeth that eat the sky. He's like, let me see your teeth. And they go off and they go. I love Long Neck's lesson. He's like, listen, he's like Thunderbolt taught him how to fly. He can maneuver around all day, but this is a marathon, not a sprint. So make him fly every day, all day. Don't let him stop flying all day. And you'll see like the little like training montage of him holding a rock up. Meanwhile, Chris Bowers is sitting there just stabbing you in the chest with his music. And you're like bawling while you're watching all this stuff. And it just gets like more and more emotional. It's horrible. Don't recommend. Just kidding. I do
No,
recommend, but it's tough. It's
it's
tough.
amazing. It is tough because you know that date's coming, right? And then it arrives, and it is the date that every parent like both is excited for and dreads because it is time. Look at me. I can't
It is.
even talk. It is time for Brightbill to really go and fly off. And
Yeah. And they don't part on the best of terms either, which is doesn't make it any more helpful.
that's true. I mean, as you do, right? And I think it's interesting because it reminded me of when I flew the coop, so to speak. It's almost built inside because you want that independence. The younger of the two want the independence, and the older of the two really needs to be like, yeah, you're not listening. You don't know what But at the end of the day, it's really just it's heart-wrenching watching Ra's watch as Brightbill kind of uh not only does well enough to leave, he's kind of in the front of the pack, right? Like
Hmm.
he becomes kind of this underdog leader that we see over the course of their trip. Now she doesn't see any of that. But the idea is that he's going to go off and then she is going to go back home. And this is the last time she's going to see him. And it is awful because at least when your kids go to college, like they're going to come back, you're going to see them again, but you don't know that at this point. And oh my gosh, it just breaks your soul into a billion pieces. And then the shot that you're talking about where she's running up the side of the cliff and over the cliff and sees him and you see this beautiful sky and he's got it, he's okay, like he can fly, there's like 1,000 feet between him and the ground and he's doing it and she's like bye. And you got this
Oh.
amazing arcing. I don't know what instruments they were, but it sounded great. Oh my God.
The instruments of the heart. Yeah, there's some beautiful like takeaways. As I mentioned, they're not on the best of terms, right? Roz has, taught him how to fly and, kind of given him these lessons, but Brightbill is a little, burned by the fact, obviously, that, Roz killed his family and, it wasn't Roz's fault, of course, but, still, and then you're wondering how you fit into all of this, right, in this world, and you're, kind of an outcast of the people that you're meant to be with, because of what happened and things like that. But you get a really beautiful moment there when Brightbill does take off there with the rest of the geese, kind of at the right hand, I guess, of Long Neck. there as they leave, and you see Roz, almost tear up as much as a robot can do, and runs up to the top of the mountain to see him off there. And Longneck kind of notices that, and he makes his flock circle back around so they can do a little flyby of Roz, and a feather comes down to them, and you have Roz have the conversation with Fink, who I want to talk about here in a second, about love and about how do you know if you love someone, and how do you say it, and Brightbill has kind of a similar conversation with Longneck, right? He's like, how does know someone know if you love them, and I forgot to say it, and Longneck, voiced beautifully by Bill Nighy, has this amazing line, and it's something along the lines of, sometimes hearts have conversations that we don't know about. Right? Your mom, Roz knew that you loved. Michaela's crying, so let's move on. I want to talk about Fink a little bit because Fink is really, kind of the supporting character here, who's going to help Roz along her way, right? Help raise little Brightbill. He's going to bring all the animals back together. Voiced by Pedro Pascal. Fink is a pretty wily little fox. It seems kind of on the outs with every animal on the island, and of course, foxes. That's what they do, right? They go and they steal your eggs, and they get chickens out of the hen house, and they do all the foxy things. So it's a beautiful moment there at the winter storm is coming in, and Roz is about ready to shut down. Roz doesn't have the energy to deal with all these people, and Fink is begging her for help because all these animals are about ready to eat one another. Even you have the grizzly bear. Mark Hamill, playing Thorn, the grizzly bear comes in. All the animals are scared. They're all nervous. And she just tells Fink, she's like, you gotta lead these animals. And that's beautiful too. It's one of like the 119 times I'd start to cry during this movie.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's rough, man. But the snowstorm looks amazing, and the way that they kind of encapsulate all the animals kind of together in this one place. It's really a visual treat. You already talked about the moss kind of growing over Roz in the aftermath of that as spring kind of starts to happen. That looks so real, and so like, again, the texture of it is just awesome. But this whole thing is supposed to be because the only reason Roz is there is because some sort of plane crash, right? And so
Mhm.
at the very beginning, we see her try and signal. She has a little signal on the top of her head that she pokes and says, "Hey, come pick me up," company. There's no place. I'm not. You need to come get me. I'm done helping.
Mhm.
And so that was something she had tried to do, and she couldn't. She had the toughest time. Like, the universe knew that it was not the right thing. And then she found like an old robot that had like been completely ripped in half or something, and so she used their signal to get some sort of notification to Universal Dynamics, which is the name of the company. And if it sounds like the alien company, it is, because they are awful. Vontra is this weird robot thing that comes down and arrives to recover
Yeah.
Roz. Now, Roz is at first is like, okay, that's fine, but then it's like, no, I don't think I like this, because part of recovering her is going to be getting all of her memories, right? Getting all of her experiences and then erasing them, maybe. And Roz is a very different robot than she would have been, or they would have been, whatever.
Yeah.
They would have been something else if everything had worked out differently, but it didn't. And so Roz now is saying, nope, I want to stay. I don't accept this. I don't want Vontra to come and take all my stuff. And so there's this whole chase that starts a forest fire. And this fire, we got to talk about the animation of this fire. It looks insanely realistic and scary. I don't know how they did it, because the smoke. I'm glad we were streaming it, because I saw this weeks ago, and then I rewatched it for the sake of the pod. The smoke in this looks insane. It's so good looking and horrible, because the whole time you're like, you feel like you should start coughing because it looks so thick, and yet I don't know. This whole sequence of them trying to like outrun the forest fire and come together and fighting her Ricos, which are these like
The reconnaissance robots.
yeah,
Yeah.
dispatched by Vontra. Like, it's
Yeah, Vantra like blows them up. That's what starts the forest fire there as
Sure.
the animals
Yeah.
come together to battle these things, which is pretty good. Vantra, on a side note, looks exactly like the little like tentacle octopus robot thing in the Matrix.
Yep.
That looks bad. Don't trust Vantra. Yeah, Vantra wants to go and like wipe the memory, right? The company wants to use Raz's memories, in ways to like help further along their agenda of making these robots, of course. But Roz is like, can I just keep my one memory, a little Brightbill? And Vandra's like, no. She's like, well, fine, I'm out of here then. Get out of here. But yeah, the forest fire is amazing, which gets us to the real hero of the movie. Of course, it is the beaver. His name is Paddler. He is voiced by Matt Berry. He's amazing because he's like a curmudgeon, but Paddler is the one who makes the little leg for Roz. That's nice out of that there and all that stuff. But Paddler is kind of a little neurotic kind of guy, right? He's like trying to like chew through like the biggest tree in the whole forest, and everyone gives him a bunch of shtick about it the whole time
Yeah.
until later on when the forest fires come in, they think they can use the tree to kind of block the fire from coming in, and I really like that because tells Fink he's like all right, now tell me that I'm cool and really mean it and all that, and all the animals have to come together to help him kind of complete his task of felling this giant tree. So that's really good. Stephanie Shu is voicing Vantra there. As I mentioned, Mark Hamill they're doing the voice of that. So the voice cast here is pretty stellar uh, there. And obviously, kind of at the end of this, I guess the Roz ends up getting away, and Brightbill, kind of returns from his migration, right, leading the way now after Long Neck has, perished after they landed at the
Mm.
Universal Dynamics headquarters there. Another quick image you get in there. So Universal Dynamics apparently is in San Francisco or close to San Francisco, because you'll see the geese flying over what appears to be the Golden Gate Bridge, and there are like
Yep.
whales swimming over top of it, right? It's because climate change out there. But yeah, so that's pretty beautiful. So it gets back in time, and he thinks he's going to get that chance to tell his mother, Roz, that he loves her, but Roz has made the decision that she needs to go, right? She needs to go back home.
Yeah. You always stop when it gets to the worst part for me to like talk because I'm gonna
Well,
so
Roz knows that they're just going to
right.
keep sending those crazy
Yeah.
robot things
I mean,
after her,
she's like,
right?
look, and because she wasn't just a mother figure to Brightbill, but as to many members of the forest, right? She felt very protective of them because she really has become a wild robot. She decides to go ahead and return on her own to Universal Dynamics and protect the island from future attacks because this forest fire did devastate quite a big chunk of the island, right?
Hmm.
But she's like, I promise I'll come back. In the meantime, she's like, I have expectations of the way the animals should continue to live together in harmony, and they do. And Roz, I guess, goes to work at Universal Dynamics greenhouse, which is kind of what we saw an image of kind of in the middle of the film. And I guess she can maintain her memories. This was the piece that I thought was a little tough for me because I totally thought that they had erased all of her memories. And then when she sees Bright Bill, because he shows up to see her,
Yeah, and
that
you
she
think,
like
yeah, she's
remembers all
powered
of a
off, right?
sudden that she, yeah, that
His love
somehow like,
powers her back up.
yeah, it's so great. Oh gosh, it's so good. Go
He's
watch
snug
this movie.
he's snuggled in on her there. And unfortunately he has a busted wing, right? Flying into the spaceship, he busts his wings. So
Yeah.
she tells him, it's okay, you don't have to fly. And she puts him inside and just like cannonballs herself down off of the spaceship. But yeah, ultimately has to go back, right? She needs to go where she belongs to at the end of the day. And it's really to, protect the animals here on this island because she knows that they're not really going to be safe if she's still there. They're going to keep coming after her. And that's where you think that the story is going to end, but no, because Brightbill next winter, has to make his migration again. And of course, you get to the part where the weather gets stormy and things. You have to land somewhere, so of course you land at Universal uh, Universal Dynamics there, and you'll see Roz out in the field, picking the garden or whatever they're doing there at Universal Dynamics. Something sketchy for sure. But Brightbill, comes out from underneath of the foliage, and they do get to have, kind of one last embrace there, and that's where it ends. And then the music goes nuts, and you start crying like you've cried like 100 times now. By the end of this movie, Chris Bowers, you jerk, what's wrong with you? So Chris Bowers, let's talk about that here real quick, Michaela, and then I want to talk about something else entirely. So Chris Bowers is nominated here for Best Original Score. Chris Bowers is pretty good at his craft. He's done the films Green Book, King Richard, The Color Purple, and now Wild Robot. He's also done some scoring for Bridgerton, like on the Netflix series there. Also has a couple of has an Oscar win and another nomination. He won the documentary short for The Last Repair Shop last year. Right, as one of the producers of that, and then was also nominated in 2021 for a concerto as a concert conversation, which is also an excellent documentary short, was nominated for that one. But this is going to be his first nomination here for original score. Michaela, we don't need to get into the others that were nominated for original score, but what do you think about the score? How well do you think it does? And telling the story, how well does it do? And making you question if you have enough tissues on hand to make it through the movie, because it's pretty gorgeous, I will say.
It's yeah, I mean it's very like it no I I'm gonna fudge this up completely, but look, it's very sweeping and grand when you want it to be, but at the same time, during the montages, it can be quite delicate. There was one in particular, like when Roz shuts down and she just kind of listens, and you see kind of the world shift around her, and she wakes up and she's got some stuff growing on her and stuff. I loved that. I can't tell if it's strings or um like like it might be like a harp, or if it's like a violin, viola, strings at the end of it during that sequence, but it's super delicate and light. I just think it does a great job of I don't know. It does what a score is supposed to do, which is now every time I hear anything like it, I think of the movie. That's really great. But also it adds to the emotionality of what is going on, and without overpowering it. So I mean, I think that if you are going to, tell a story that's got all of these layers to it, that's got, it has some moments where it's really light and happy. It's got some really downtrodden moments. It's got moments of anger in it. You need the score to be able to meet all of those emotions in a way where you don't feel like you're being beaten by it either.
Hmm.
And so I thought it was a really beautiful um, harmonization between what we're seeing on screen and what we're hearing. And I think it's even more important for animated films because you don't have some of those natural sounds. I mean, it makes perfect sense to me. I think it is no mistake that this is up for best sound as well as best score, because they had to work together to create the show in a way that we see it today. And because of it's animated, they had to work in a very specific way.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It does a really good job of like, kind of encapsulating obviously the emotional bits of the film, right, in these big sweeping, heartfelt things that are, bringing you into that world. But it also does a really good job of playing, on some of the more like atmospheric notes, and kind of the
Mm,
way like time is passing, because you'll spend a lot of
yep.
time, especially kind of early in the film, of Roz shutting down to recharge, or to to learn the language, or to go sit on top of a rock and see if that beacon brings anyone to come find her there. So the music has to do that as well too, right? Give you a feeling of that ambiance, as well as kind of the passage of time, and it's astounding. It's really, really good. Now there is a word on the street, Michaela, sequel. Apparently, Chris Sanders has said that he would like to do a sequel, and basically confirmed as much back in October that there was going to be. This movie stands alone on itself really, really well, but there are three books in the series here of the Wild Robot. So there is the Wild Robots, and then the Wild Robot Escapes, and the Wild Robot Protects. So possible sequel underway for Chris Sanders. And if Chris Sanders wants to do it, I say let him, because he is a gentleman who is good at his craft. He has been nominated now for 4 Academy Awards for Best Animated Feature Film, starting with Lilo and Stitch back in 2003, How to Train Your Dragon in 2011, and The Croods in 2014. Maybe this will be the year that he finally wins one on the fourth try around here for Wild Robots. We'll see. But what do you think? Sequel? You want Roz to come back? Roz needs to get out of there, get away from
Yeah.
those things,
I
and
mean,
go back home. Your real
yeah,
home.
it makes sense now that is something that's possible because there was a hole, right? Like she says goodbye, you don't really get to see the goodbye, but then you see that, the next year Brightbill comes to see her, and that's the moment that they have together, and where I start crying and you started talking, which is great. But I don't know. Sequels make me nervous these days. We had a year of sequels, and some of them were just not as good as you wanted them to be. I will never say no, as long as the possum and the beaver come back, because
Yeah.
they were great. Catherine O'Hara as the possum
Yeah,
mom,
as
who
long as
just
as
she
long
was
as
like,
Catherine O'Hara and Matt Berry
I've got
can come
8
back,
kids.
that's
Oh,
good.
nope. Now I got 7 kids. Like, no, now I got 6 kids. Cool. All right. Well, you just got to do the best you can, honey. I mean,
Got to do the best you can. That's right.
it's great. No, I'm excited about the idea of a sequel. But this is my pick for animated film this year. It might not win, but this is, in my opinion, it's my favorite animated film of the year.
Hmm.
And I think it is truly the most deserving. So, yeah, that's my shot. That's what
There
I'm
you
saying.
go. I am not willing to make my pick known yet. You'll have to wait for our Oscar Pick'em show for that. But the Oscar Pick'em prize pack survey thing is live. You can go to our website, www.drinkthemovies.com, and make your own Oscar picks there. And let us know if you think Wild Robot is going to win the Academy Award for Best Animated Picture, or Best Sound, or Best Original Score. So all right, and after you get done making your Oscar picks, you want to do that with a clear head, of course. So go make your picks first, and then mix yourself up winner scarves. Right? You got a lot of winner here still left to get through. Maybe you're going to watch Wild Robot, and you're going to be like, man, this is chilly. Watching all this snow. Got to fly south for the winter. Mix
Yeah.
yourself up a winter scarves from Grey Goose. Send us pictures and let us know what you thought about that cocktail as well. You can do that on our social medias. It's at Drink the Movies on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky, and Facebook.com/drinkthemovies. You can go to our website, www.drinkthemovies.com, for more information about the cocktail, pictures of our cocktails, episode recaps, links to Drink the video games, links to the merchandise shop, and links to the Oscar Pick'em. That's all there, www.drinkthemovies.com. And you can also go check out our Patreon, patreon.com/drinkthemovies, if you want to get bonus content. We're going to start running through our Best Picture nominees here this month. We did a bonus episode about Mufasa. We do hangouts there, cocktail chats, all sorts of fun stuff. So check out patreon.com/drinkthemovies for more information on that. But most importantly, Michaela, we love people out there who listen to the podcast, who interact with us, especially on like a weekly basis. Let us know what you're watching out there. And the best way to do that, to follow along with what we're doing, is to subscribe to the podcast. Where can they do that?
You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, anywhere where Spotify podcasts are distributed and supported. We have 2 drops a week. One drop is a deep dive like this, and the other drop is our lobby bar, where we go over all the fun stuff that's happening in the music biz, or sorry, the movie biz, and shows, and even concerts. Sometimes we do for Drink the Music, for sure. You can subscribe, and there's also a way for you to like us or rate us, give us reviews, interact with us. We absolutely love this audience, and learning more about what movies you're watching, what shows you're into, what music you're listening to, cocktails that you're finding. It's a really huge community, and we're so grateful to be part of it. So thank you so much, and keep doing it, because it's the best way to get all the Drink the Music, Drink the Movies, Drink the Video Game stuff out there.
Absolutely. So, thank you so much for joining in with us to talk about Wild Robots. Hopefully, you shed some tears along the way as well. Go check it out if you haven't seen it. Definitely worth your while. And we'll be talking about it more come Oscar week for sure. So, with that, let's go ahead and wrap this one up and get back to our Oscar watch. And we'll talk to everyone next time on
Drink
Drink
the
the
Movies.
Movies.
Being different isn't a bad thing. It means you're brave enough to be yourself.
What if you're gone and I need someone to talk to?
Oh, no, I'm gonna cry again.